and 6 minutes for Wednesday, July 13th. We are now just a few days away from kicking off Fargo with the 16U women and the 16U men freestyle on Saturday. But in full disclosure, this is being taped before the 13th. Primary reason for that is I will be traveling to Fargo, and I'm trying to get everything organized and have an opportunity to do this prior to my trip up there. So I say that because I wanted you guys to know that at the moment, the landscape kind of, as far as like who is in each weight class, what wrestlers being added to and taken off of rosters and things like that, that is all in a bit of flux at the moment. It's not changing rapidly or anything else, but it has changed a little bit. It changed from the time that I got the information to when I did the 16U women. I know that looking back through some of this information, not much of it has changed, but there are a few things that have changed. And then there are also some kind of head-scratching ones where I'm not 100% sure why. I think maybe they were inadvertently left off of the rosters for USA Wrestling. A good example of that is Sabrina Noss, who you would expect to be on the list here in juniors at 180. But I went back and looked at the rosters just before I videoed this, and it was she wasn't on the junior roster. She was on the 16U roster, and I think she was a junior as well as 16U All-American a year ago. So I don't pretend to guess why some are on some rosters and some aren't on other rosters, and maybe it's just a mistake or whatever. But that might be why someone was not included on some of the things that you're going to see coming up. Anyway, it's all good. I wanted to just kind of let everybody know that right off the top. And then the second part that I want to let you know is that really this is designed to highlight kind of the bracket as a whole, not specific individuals. So except for maybe our Southeast wrestlers who I will kind of point out because they're the ones who are either ranked or returned as All-Americans or whatever that might have a shot in a very deep weight class. There are going to be so many names. These junior brackets are so very deep that it's going to be touched on very shallow in terms of, highlight a couple things and then have to move on to the next one, or this is going to be an hour long. And I just did the 16U men yesterday, and it ended up being 30-something minutes. So I'm trying to avoid that if possible, which means I should probably get started with the junior women. And let's start with the 100-pounders. I'm not going to name I'm not necessarily going to name the champion from a year ago. But if you see Brianna Gonzalez up at the top, just underneath there, that is where the last year's champion kind of resides on these different slides. So she is a returning junior champ at 100 pounds. And you see below her really a list of quite a few names. I think there are 10 wrestlers that are ranked according to Flow Wrestling and USA Wrestling. And again, these were the rankings that were released. I think they were released with the rosters. I know they updated the rankings right afterwards. I think some might have changed a little bit, but these should be fairly close. So anyway, as we look down this, we see Sterling Diaz from Nevada. We also see Valerie Solorio, who is a returning 16U champ, now up at 100 pounds for the juniors. And she's ranked number 4 at 100 pounds. So she's definitely one to watch. I made mention of Rayon Murphy from Indiana yesterday, or a couple days ago when I did the 16U women. And then you see Chloe Deerwester from Ohio and Katie Valdez from Colorado. Erin Hickey from, I think that's how you say her name, from Hawaii. Those are all definitely at the top of the list, definitely people to keep an eye on. One person I want to make sure that we point out at the very bottom of this list is Kealone Vega from Florida. She is a returning junior All-American. She isn't ranked, and she's not ranked because she missed the high school season due to an injury. So she's now back in the fold, has been wrestling a little bit. I saw her down at Disney Duels. And, keep an eye on her because she's already been on the podium once. Wouldn't be a surprise to see her knock off some of these ranked wrestlers in front of her and climb back on the podium again. All right. 106-pounders. Paige Morales, California, is your champ. Ava Ward, Mackenzie Smith, who was a 16U champ from a year ago from Indiana, and Claire Bowie from Florida are all at the top of the list. And it feels like they kind of separated themselves a little bit from the next group. Although, don't be surprised. I mean, there's some really good wrestlers down below. Heather Kroll, Aspen Blasco, McKenna Kraft, again, so on and so forth. So we have several ranked. We have some 16U All-Americans in that group. And as we'll talk about as we go on, the rankings kind of, they're important, but we have seen, especially at junior duels, we've seen wrestlers who were ranked lower knock off wrestlers that were ranked higher. So just because somebody's further down the list doesn't necessarily mean that they don't have a shot to make a run as well. All right, juniors 112. Boy, look at that bracket. That is huge. Sage Mortimer, the defending champ, is gone. And I don't even know how many are listed here as far as the number that are ranked somewhere in the rankings. And you see Carly Brooks is number 2 at 112. And then you got Alex Skokanicki from Maryland, who's ranked number 3 at 100 pounds. So we begin to bring in different weight classes based upon the rankings because this is where they're listed on the rosters for Fargo. And I've watched several of these. Giovanni Alejandro from Nevada, I watched her wrestle. Janessa George from Colorado, Angelina Vargas from Missouri, I've watched them wrestle as well. This is a tough weight class. This is a very, very deep weight class, and it should get started super early with some really good matches. One person I would point you to is about halfway down, and that's Bella Hoffman from South Carolina. She's ranked 20th at 122. She's down at 112. Let's see if she can make a run and finish in the top 8. All right, let's jump over to 117s. And like the 112s, again, super deep. Bella Hoffman's teammate, Zoe Estrada, is returning 16U runner-up. She's also ranked number 2 at 122 and is probably one of the 3-4 favorites that are here at 117. Jacqueline Denning from Massachusetts is a junior runner-up, ranked number 4 at 117. She's also got to be amongst those favorites. And Juliana Diaz from Florida, junior All-American, ranked number 4 at 117. And you see there's 2 rankings of number 4 at 117, probably because the rankings came out for the women right as we were releasing all the rosters. So we had some shift and we had a few changes. So don't get stuck too much on the numbers that are next to their names. Use it more as a broader idea of the level of competition. So Toriana Buchanan from Indiana. There's Cameron Galvin from Florida. Arias from California. Again, a very deep weight class, a weight class that should get started super early and being very, very competitive. There will not be an easy path to the top step at 117. All right, 122. Excuse me. 122 might be the deepest weight class of the tournament, and Shelby Moore as the returning champ or defending champ. I don't think she's back at all. So that opens it up to, we've got 20 maybe right there that are ranked. A couple, probably the number one that kind of jumps out to me is Sophia Macaluso from New York. She's ranked number 1 at this weight. She was a junior runner-up a year ago, lost in the finals. She might have lost in the finals to Shelby Moore. And she should come in as the favorite. at least I would think she would come in as a favorite. As you look further down the list, you do see down towards the bottom, number 22 at 122 from Florida, Brielle Bibla. She has an opportunity. It is a super deep weight, so she's going to have to beat some individuals along the way. And we've seen this happen. Like Bianca Johnson, take right there, number 15 at 122 from Washington, a returning junior All-American. I believe it was her at junior duels that knocked off some of those that are ranked above her right now. So it's not beyond the realm of possibility, but yeah, you're gonna have to wrestle exceptionally well to make the podium at 122. All right, 127, interesting weight class. Alexis Janiec is the returning champ from Illinois. She is in the field. She's number 6 at 132. She shares the top kind of section with Sarah Savage of Colorado, a junior All-American, and Janita Garcia of California. Janiec has a couple losses just recently in the junior duels. And I don't remember who below has beaten her, but I do remember watching her lose a couple of times. So, again, something to keep in mind. Just because you're ranked above someone else doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to walk into that match as a favorite. Skylar Little Soldier, as I mentioned in my 16U preview, is probably my favorite name of the tournament. She's number 4 at 127. She's a junior All-American and a 16U champ. She is in 16Us, so she will wrestle 16Us that tournament first, and then gear up for the junior tournament where she should be in the hunt for a spot as well. This is a tough weight, and you look down there at number 10 at 127, Kaylee Reese from Florida is probably the Southeast's best opportunity to push through and make the podium. She certainly is sitting right there in that group that should be fighting somewhere in for one of those spots. Although, again, I made mention Janiec, who is the defending champ, had lost. So who knows? Maybe Kaylee Reese has it. If she has a really good tournament, makes a run all the way to the top step. We certainly will be cheering for her and hoping that happens. All right, 132, London Houston from Washington, and I don't know if it's stood out to you yet, but if you look through the West Coast, boy, they had a lot of champs last year. California, Washington. You're going to see some others come through in just a little bit. They have wrestled super well a year ago. They're definitely ones to keep an eye on as from the team race perspective. At 132, we have 4 returning junior All-Americans, a handful of returning 16U All-Americans, a bunch of wrestlers that are ranked, and probably Taylor Firebach Graveman from South Dakota, who's ranked number 2 at this weight, probably stands out as the favorite. Although Ella Schmidt from Iowa is right there as well, and then you've got Kylie Rule, Esther Hahn, who from Utah, who I think she was 3rd a year ago. So she comes in at number 12 at 132, but certainly has finished high on that podium previously. Lily Luft kind of stands out as well. So this is a good weight, a very tough weight. Again, somebody to keep an eye on. It's hard. I wanted to include some of the other wrestlers from the Southeast as it related to this because I think they have a real shot, to make an impact. I don't know if May Prado will be down at this weight. I don't know if Carolyn Gilstrap will be down at this weight, or if they're going to be up at a weight. Caitlin Davis. These are some of the names that kind of pop into my head as far as ones that can make a run. But this. If you look at it, I mean, that's a lot of ranked wrestlers right there in front, and I know they're ranked as well. But what it illustrates to me is that starting in the the round of 32, especially in the round of 16, you're going to start seeing ranked wrestlers versus ranked wrestlers, and some are going to be pushed into the consolation bracket pretty early and going to have to win quite a few matches to make the podium. So anyway, jumping ahead to 138, Savannah Gomez from California is your champ. Again, we've got Skylar Hattendorf, who's ranked number 1 here at this weight in the field. Faith Bartosik from Wisconsin is both a junior and a 16U All-American. And I've already talked about her in the 16U preview. Definitely one to watch. There's May Prado from Georgia and Caitlin Davis from South Carolina. Genesis Gilmore, who was runner-up in 16U from Tennessee. There's Caroline Gilstrap from South Carolina in the list as well. And then at the bottom of that first section is Alessandra Elliott, who was a 16U champ a year ago. Definitely another one to watch. Again, a super tough weight. A really good weight for if this is where, and again, we're changing weights, but if this is where they end up, could be a really tough and deep weight for the Southeast. Caitlin Davis was 4th a year ago. May Prado just missed. Genesis Gilmore was a 16U runner-up. Caroline Gilstrap just missed a spot on the podium as well. So this is an opportunity for the Southeast to do exceptionally well. All right, 144. Destiny Rodriguez is our returning champ. She's going to be up a weight and you'll see her at 152 in a minute. But you see Savannah Gomez, who was just the junior champ down below at 138. She was ranked number 3 at number 138. She's up at 144. Maddie Kubicki is a junior All-American. She's number 3 at 144. And then you see Alina Johnson. She's a really good example of kind of this movement from 16U, well, really not even 16U to juniors, but a really good example of each year is different. So just because there's a returning All-American in the bracket, just anything along those lines. She was a double All-American in 2019, I believe, both at 16U and in juniors. And that we missed 2020. And then last year in 2021, she had a deep run through the tournament in juniors. She was no longer a 16U, but she was eliminated in the blood round before making the podium. So you don't see a junior All-American out to the side. Now, I could have kept it from a couple of years ago, but I only went back to last year and highlighted those that from last year. But she's ranked number 2 at 144. So again, keep all those things in mind. In the next group has some fantastic wrestlers. It does have Maggie Graham, who's a 16U All-American. She's ranked number 10. Definitely has an opportunity to make a run for a spot on the podium. Maybe the top step, although I will say Gomez, Kubicki, and Johnson above her are super tough, so we'll have to see. And then you got Nebi Sarni in there as well, who is a junior All-American and a 16U champ last year. So definitely another one to watch. And Yasmini Oliveira from Alabama is down there at the bottom. She didn't make the podium a year ago. Came very close. And again, another one that you should pay attention to because I think she has a real shot to make a run and make the podium this year. All right, 152s. We got Jasmine Robinson from Texas, who, again, if you didn't watch the 16U women, boy, she was fantastic. She threw everyone. She was throwing people around like they were rag dolls a year ago. She's not back in the field. She won both 16Us and juniors a year ago. So the top of this list is probably Destiny Rodriguez, junior champ, down at 144, and Avery Beckman, also from Texas, like Jasmine Robinson. And then there's a whole host of wrestlers below. And, Johanna Foreman for California, Ruby Rios from Washington have both wrestled exceptionally well. I believe it was at Junior Duels where they wrestled exceptionally well. And they are definitely ones to watch if I'm watching from the outside. We're obviously going to be paying attention to Genevieve Vaughn, who is a 16U All-American, who, Yeah, has an opportunity to break through and make the podium in juniors. But the names above her, she'll have to beat a few of them to make sure she gets there. All right, 164. Kylie Welker. Boy, if you haven't watched Kylie Welker wrestle, you should definitely take an opportunity to go and watch her compete. She won't be in this field, which means that 164 should be pretty wide open. The top-ranked wrestler is Piper Fowler from Tennessee. And Piper's ranked. I don't think Piper has been at Fargo previously. I know she's still a 16U. It might even be her first year as a 16U. But she has achieved that number 3 ranking at 152 because of her performance in other places, women's nationals or whatever. So she's definitely one to watch. She's going to have her hands full, though. Haley Ward is also in Missouri. Haley Ward from Missouri is also in the bracket. Shannon Workinger from Washington is a returning junior All-American. Ella Pagel is a returning 16U champion. They're in the bracket. And then you look down, and again, another weight class that features, another 10, 12 wrestlers that are ranked, including Alyssa Favara from Florida, who's a 16U All-American down there at number 24. It's gonna be a tough task. Piper Fowler and Alyssa Favara from the Southeast have a definite shot to make a run to the podium, and whatever that step is on the podium. But 164 is, again, another weight class that features a lot of ranked wrestlers currently on rosters that are registered in the field. 180, Bretlin Corbishley. I cannot say it. Sorry about that. Bretlin from Texas. She is not in the field. And then you see, a number 1 at 200, a number 2 at 180. Sam Calkins, who was a junior champ a year ago, up at 200, is now listed at 180 here. Olivia White from Washington is a junior All-American. But I think that Calkins has got a few losses. I think I saw her take a couple losses at junior duels. One of those might have been to Isabella Renfro of Missouri, who's ranked number there at 5 at 180. So definitely a weight class that looks pretty top heavy with 4 wrestlers in the top 5 and 6 wrestlers in the top 10, including Henley Haynes from Florida, who's ranked number 6 at 180. But what that tells you is that this is going to be a battle. Your position as number 1 or number 2 doesn't necessarily mean that, or as a returning champ, doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to make a run to the top step again. Calkins has been beat. I'm pretty sure she lost a couple of matches at junior duels. So keep that in mind. Shout out to North Carolina's Ella Beam, who's ranked number 18 at 180. She should be in the hunt as well. And one of the things that I like about Ella is, and this is what I like about all the wrestlers who have been to Fargo previously and have competed, is Ella was here. She knows what the task is in front of her. She's wrestled here before. She's won some good matches. She's lost some really tough matches. I think she might have lost like a 15-14 match. So yeah, it's an opportunity to break through and make that top 8. And I think having that experience is huge in walking back into the dome and having your sights set on taking it one match at a time to march through and make the podium. All right, your 200-pounders, junior women. I just talked about Sam Calkins. She is a defending champ. And then we've got a whole list of wrestlers below her, including 2 from the Southeast who are ranked in the top 5. And that is Ella Murphy from Tennessee and Dazia Yerby from South Carolina. Madeline Welch from Texas is ranked number 2. Riley Dempwolf from Indiana is a returning junior All-American, as is Dazia Yerby. And then you've got Mariah Brumley down there from Missouri, who is a junior All-American a year ago and 16U runner-up. Like Keiko from Colorado is also listed. And the reason I bring their names up is I've talked about them previously in, I believe it was the 16U preview. Again, it's a little strange. I made mention of Sabrina Noss not being in the field at 180, even though I think she was a returning junior All-American a year ago. This is another weight class where I'm a little confused. Mariah Brumley from Missouri is in the field both at 16U and in juniors, but her teammate, Catherine Dutton, isn't. And I don't know if that was simply, it was overlooked, or whether Dutton's not going to wrestle juniors and is only wrestling 16Us. I don't choose to guess what it is. I'm simply going by the rosters that were given by USA Wrestling. And if this is the group that we get, I think Ella Murphy and Dazzy Yerby both have a really good shot to make a run, not only to the podium, but they could be battling it out for the top step. Our final weight class is 225, and I think this is the only weight class where our returning champ is at the weight. Eliana Bomarito of Michigan was the champ here a year ago, and she's back at this weight. She also has quite a few ranked wrestlers below her that are back at the weight as well. So definitely need to watch Kiera Gainey, who was a 16U runner-up from Illinois, Sierra Monger from Colorado, Faith Spice from Missouri. All different wrestlers that you should keep in mind or keep an eye on who have an opportunity. But Elena has been at the top step previously. That's got to be an advantage, at least in some respects, because she's been onto the big stage and has wrestled on the big stage in a finals previously. You can see down below Andrea Smith, who was a junior All-American a year ago, ranked number 15 at 225. She is also in the field and should have an opportunity to make a run for another spot on the podium again this year. So that is junior women. Hopefully I didn't take nearly as much time as I have with some of the others. That's not to cut them short or anything like that, but I want to make sure that you guys have an opportunity to look at each of the weight classes, get to see what could be the possible brackets, the wrestlers that are going to fill out those brackets here in another week or so. I'm not sure exactly when junior women start. I don't believe it is until maybe Tuesday. So we still have a little bit of time before they weigh in, which means that we could see some shifts based upon who wants to be with.